Hey guys, welcome and ting and ting and ting. Someone suggested that I watch this here just to see what the vibe is here. So, why did Romania switch sides in World War II? So that's the big question here. And I didn't know anything about this. So, I'm learning something new here. Okay, and let me thank those who comment. Thank you so much for the comment. Thank you for a really good year last year, and I'm looking forward to even more vibes this year, meeting more cool people, learning about where they're from and all of that. But thanks for the comments. Thanks for the super thanks that I received. It's all well appreciated. Let's go ahead and YouTube and SimSimmer and see why did Romania switch sides in World War II.
In August 1944, the Axis forces were on the defensive. In the west, a new front was created in June after D-Day. Germans were fighting in central, in northern Italy, and in east, the Soviets were on a huge offensive on a gigantic front line. Germany was in a very bad situation. But a new blow is about to happen on the date of 23rd of August 1944. At that date, King Michael of Romania joined with conspirators and opposition politicians in an attempt to arrest the head of the government, Marshal John Antonescu. The coup was successful. The king removed the government and the weapons were turned against Germany. But why did this happen? For you to better understand the situation of Romania in the Second World War, firstly we have to go 132 years back in time.
Oh, wow.
We're in 1812. In the aftermath of the Russo-Turkish War, which happened between 1806 and 1812, the eastern parts of the Principality of Moldova, known as Bessarabia, were ceded to Imperial Russia. In 1859, Moldova united with Wallachia in what will become Romania after their War of Independence. In 1917, in the wake of Russian Revolution, the area constituted itself as the Moldavian Democratic Republic, an autonomous republic part of a proposed federative Russian state. Bolshevik agitation in late 1917 and early 1918 resulted in the intervention of the Romanian army to pacify the region. Soon after, the Parliamentary Assembly declared independence, and then the union with the Kingdom of Romania. The Great War led to the achievement of the long-standing goal, and that was the creation of Greater Romania, a national state that would incorporate all ethnic Romanians, which were divided for centuries. However, these new territories also included significant Hungarian, German, Russian, and Ukrainian minorities. Thus, the relations with Hungary and with the new authoritarian regime of the East weren't so good. In the first years of the interwar period, the situation was very good. The economy grew substantially, and Romania found itself as a major actor of Southeast Europe. King Ferdinand, who unified the country after the Great War, died in 1927, and after his death, an era of political instability is about to start. Carol, who will become Carol II, was the eldest son of Ferdinand I, and became crown prince upon the death of his grand uncle, King Carol I, in 1914. His life was marked by numerous scandals, among them marriages to Zizi Lambrino in 1918, and then to Princess Helen of Greece and Denmark in 1921. Then he had continued affairs with Magda Lupescu, and this obliged him to renounce his succession rights in 1925 and leave the country. King Ferdinand died in 1927, and Carol's 5-year-old son ascended the throne as Michael I. Because Michael was still a minor, a regency council was instituted. Carol then returned to Romania in 1930 and replaced his son and the regency that had been in place. His reign was marked by political turmoil, huge instability, and in final, evolved into a personal dictatorship beginning in 1938. Due to the political situation of Europe at the time, combined with its internal struggles and its geographic position, Romania found itself in a very delicate posture.
Yeah, delicate indeed. I mean, with all the internal strife going on with Carol the First coming back and reclaiming the throne from his son, and of course coming back, he's bringing back all those scandals that came in there, and it's not part of the politics, but people will take into consideration that kind of stuff too when they think about their leaders. I guess the only thing he could have done was turn into like a dictatorship, they say. But anyway, not only they have the internal strife going on, they have to keep an eye on all these people around them that's want to come in and you know, confiscate their land and stuff like that. Can you imagine the tumultuous times that these people were going through there? Because you have threats both from external and internal, and all those countries are within striking distance. Just want to get at them. That's crazy.
The war was on the horizon, and the only guarantee of Romania's integrity was France and Great Britain. On the 21st of June 1940, France signed an armistice with Germany, and Great Britain focused on its defense. Romania was alone. In the summer of 1940, a series of territorial disputes were diplomatically resolved, unfavorably to Romania, resulting in the loss of most of the territory gained in the wake of World War I. On June 26, 1940, at 2200, Soviet People's Commissar Molotov presented an ultimatum to evacuate Bessarabia and North Bukovina. The king communicated his wish to stand against the Soviet Union, but was under the pressure of Germany and Italy. Carol accepted. And then again, under these pressures, Romania lost northern Transylvania and southern Dobruja.
Wow.
This caused the exile of Carol II in 1940 and the installation of a new dictatorship government under Marshal John Antonescu. Carol was succeeded by his son Michael, who was only 18 at the time. Although the young king was formally the supreme head of the army and had full powers, in reality he was forced to remain just a figure, being considered by the head of the government as just an unexperienced child. The new government collaborated with Germany and joined the Axis in November 1940. The new goal of the state was to regain some, if not all, of the lost territories. In 1941, Germany and its allies prepared for the invasion.
You see, that's kind of crazy, you know what I mean? That he allied with Germany so he could regain the territories and stuff, and that's an important thing there to begin with, you know, because those people got split up. Germany, man. Well, Hitler at the time, who could trust him? I mean, Mussolini learned pretty much the hard way, didn't he? I don't know if Mussolini was during that time, or if that was a reference they could have, but that's the thing about being on the outlines of superpowers. You don't really have a choice. You just have to do and hope for the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember when we had our revolution in my country, and everybody was like, communist, 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 you know? And it was purported that the prime minister who instigated the revolution went to Ronald Reagan for help. And he was like, no, no, no. And of course, you have to choose one or the other. The other one says, well, we will give you guns and you know, and train your army, you know, so you could protect yourself, you know. So they went to the Russians. You know, that's when we had the Cubans come in, and there was more Russians coming in. The Russians had a consulate there and stuff like that. And we, the people, are sitting here going, what the bumbleclot is going on? Because, you know, ordinary people pay attention to politics, but it's not expanded to the point where they understand the superpowers pulling back and forth, you know, or the stronger countries pulling back and forth to try to get control of things. You understand what I'm saying? So, in a way, we were in a position like that, even though it wasn't a wartime position, as they were having there. So it was more dire for them to do something, you know what I mean? I don't know why, because they didn't say here why he sided with Russia. Why he sided with Germany. Maybe because he thought that was the best way to get the territory back. I don't know.
Of the Soviet Union. In June 1941, the offensive began. After a short time, Bessarabia and the northern Bukovina were fully reincorporated into the Romanian state. And initially, the Romanian army wanted to stop there. The goal was reached, and Antonescu hoped to regain the northern Transylvania territory by diplomatic means. Germany persuaded Antonescu in August 1941 to also take control of the Transnistrian territory as a substitute for northern Transylvania. Also, more discussions were promised on this matter, if Romania was to continue the struggle in the east. More and more divisions were sent to fight for what a country study by the U.S. Federal Research Division of the Library of Congress attributes as a morbid competition with Hungary in hopes of regaining northern Transylvania. As a member of the Axis, Romania joined the invasion of the Soviet Union on the 22nd of June, 1941, providing equipment and oil to Germany, as well as committing more troops to the Eastern Front than all the other allies of Germany combined. Romanian forces played a large role during the fighting in Ukraine, Bessarabia, Stalingrad, and elsewhere. According to historian and author Mark Axworthy, the Second Axis Army in Europe arguably belonged to Romania, though this is disputed, since many would agree that this position goes to the Italian army. In February 1943, with a decisive Soviet counteroffensive at Stalingrad, it was growing clear that the tide of war was turning against Axis powers. In August 1944, Romania was fighting on its own territory. The situation was critical.
Okay, so now I kind of understand why they have there's that dark perception of that area there. You know what I mean? And I kind of remember stories about the Second World War and fighting with Romanians and stuff like that. And at the time, them being on the German side. It's kind of crazy that that is probably what make people still think of that place as unfriendly and you know and things like that because of the initial alignment with the Germans. So now, I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, so I probably was fed that that sort of energy against that part of the world. Not that I bought into it, I'm just saying that's what I heard, you know. And I'm not telling you all, man, the Olympics is a hell of a thing. We need to pay more attention to the Olympics. We need to like promote that even more because the Olympics is what got me paying attention to all these other countries, especially in the Balkans. So we need more stuff like that so that people could go, whoa, where you from? Uzbekistan? Ooh, where's that? What's the culture like? What's the religion like? What is the history like? You know, we could learn about each other that way. You know, and that's what the Olympic Games, I think, the idea behind it was a sort of diplomacy without politics per se.
In order to not wage war on his own territory, King Michael considered to change the government. On the 20th and 21st of August, some meetings were held with the political leaders and army officers in order to establish a plan to get Romania out of the war against the Soviets. On August 23rd, John Antonescu instructed the king to request a hearing at 4 p.m. In the discussion that followed with the king and lasted over an hour, the marshal presented in detail the situation on the front line. When the king asked him to get out of the war and sign an armistice with the Allies and Soviet Union, Marshal Antonescu replied that he would end the armistice with the approval of Germany and with some guarantees. He also said that he did not object in principle to the exit from the war. His own government tried to obtain favorable terms for an eventual armistice with the Soviets through Stockholm for some time, but he has to refuse it, arguing with the difficult conditions of armistice in relation to the Soviet Union, which annexed Bessarabia and northern Bukovina. By signing an unconditional surrender, these territories would probably be lost, and Romania would have been occupied by communist forces in the end. Also, he argued about the turning of arms against Germany, not seeing betraying your old ally as an honorable thing to do for a military officer. Then, the king was forced to use the password. If things are so, then we have nothing left to do. Hearing the words, a colonel which was waiting outside for the signal entered the room with a group of 4 soldiers who arrested the marshal.
Wow.
At 2200 in a radio message, the king announced the change of government and the new path that Romania was on. Formal Allied recognition of the de facto change of orientation of Romania in the war came on the 12th of September 1944. Until this date, Soviet troops started moving into Romania. 140,000 Romanian troops were taken as prisoner of war. About 130,000 Romanian POWs were transported to the Soviet Union, where many perished in prison camps. Romania fought against Axis forces until the end of the war, gaining the lost territories in the West at the peace conference. The presence of the Soviet army on the territory forced the communists to come to power. On November 19, 1946, the first post-war parliamentary elections are held, although the real results indicated the decisive victory of the Peasant National Party. But the probably falsified official results presented the victory with over 70% of the bloc of democratic parties led by communists. The king was again a little more than a figurehead under the communist regime, and on December 30th, 1947, he was finally forced to abdicate and leave the country. The new regime was installed with full powers as a puppet of the Soviet Union. What Antonescu feared the most just happened. Michael remained in exile for much of his life. After almost 42 years, the Romanian Revolution happened. The communism was overthrown. But on the new democratic elections, former communists were elected in key positions. At the Christmas of 1990, having a legal passport, the former king came back to visit. Fearing a possible massive support for the former king, he was stopped by a police dam, driven back to the airport, and forced to leave the country.
Wow.
In 1992, he made a new short visit, and hundreds of thousands of people came back to see him. In 1994, he was again refused to enter the country, and finally, in 1997, Michael gained back his citizenship. On December 5th, 2017, King Michael I died at 96 years old. The decision of the 23rd of August 1944 is considered by many an act of salvation of Romania. By others, it is seen as an act of betrayal. But at that time, Romania was in a very delicate situation.
True.
Joining the Axis and then switching sides was based on its desire to survive against two totalitarian regimes. If you want to see more videos, be sure to
Wow, that was very interesting. To be put in a position like that with everybody warring around you, you got to pick a side. And the allies are a lot further away than the people who want to topple you up. Wow, what a position. Can you imagine the people living through that? The uncertainty. Not knowing what tomorrow will bring. There could be Russians on the land, there could be Germans on the land. There could be anybody on the land, there could be allies coming through. That's just crazy, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this here and learned something from it. I'll leave a link in the description to this video. And hey, once again, man, if you like this video, drop a like on it for me, share the video and comment down below, tell me what you think and what you know. That would be much appreciated. And I'll leave links here to other videos that I've reacted to on Romania. Check it out. Keep watching. It's really cool stuff. You understand what I'm saying? In the meantime, you all take care of each other, alright? Cool runnings.